2 spots, the league's best defense, the league's best offensive line, and the league's best tackling defense. It will be Colts by 3 as they continue their ascent up of Nick Wright.
If the Colts lose, that character has to be retired. That voice and character has to be retired if the Colts lose. It's the worst character you use.
Wildly amusing. Why don't you do this?
Alas.
Why don't you get your picks in before kickoff on Sunday for free for your chance to be a millionaire? For much more information, that's good, Wilds. You can head to the Fox Sports app. We're going to move on quickly. Now talk a little 4 things first. Here we go. My guy Brandon, you're up first. You love 5th overall pick, Isaac Okoro's draft night surprise.
That's right. Hey, look, we're in the holiday season, a lot to be grateful for. You got to think about it. A lot of dreams came true last night. This is what it's all about. You look back and you're like, man, my parents took me up and down that road. They sacrificed day in and day out to get me to this point. And the first thing he does is celebrate his parents on his night. Isaac Okoro, great job, brother. I'm looking forward to watching your career. This is what it's all about. Now he's saying, hey, parents, I got you out the way. Now I'm going to go treat myself.
Well, Boston Globe. Here's mine, Brandon. Boston Globe finally has an article on the most important man in sports, Cam Newton, and his hat maker, Alberto Hernandez. I am going to print out this article. If you're wondering what to get me for Christmas, I'm printing out this article, and I'm going to make signs like they have in Home Goods that say, like, live, laugh, love, and paste them all around my house. That's how many good quotes there are in this article. I'll read you one. Newton will also include suggestions for specific elements to incorporate into his hats. In Week 7, for example, inspired by his new interest in gemstones, Newton asked Hernandez to add a small leather box to the back of his fedora so that he could store the stones inside. It is the perfect article. Please read it, print it out, paste it around your house for good luck.
Yesterday during the draft, there was kind of a low-key trade. Landry Shamet moves on from the Clippers. They get Luke Kennard. And it just got me thinking. There's been a lot of buzz surrounding a lot of teams. The Nets, the Rockets, the Sixers. What's the buzz surrounding the Clippers and the massive adjustments they need to make? It can't simply be, we're going to run it back from last year. And while Luke Kennard might be a slight upgrade from Landry Shamet, that's not going to be good enough to get you into the top 2 in the West, let alone the top 1 where you want to be. So I'm just very curious what is on the horizon for the Clippers, because Landry Shamet for Luke Kennard, Jenna, that ain't it.
I was going to say, that ain't it. That ain't it. Hey, not to be lost in all this NBA drama. You guys haven't heard this. This was a pretty big story. Stanley Cup champ Braden Holtby, he went and signed with the Vancouver Canucks. So what do you do when you go to sign somewhere else? You pack your bags, you pack your pets, and you head due north, in this case to Vancouver. So why isn't Braden in Canada right now? Because Braden and his bags and his 2 pets are at the Canadian border. Why? Because his 2 pets are 2 tortoises, Honey and Maple. He didn't have export papers from the Fish and Wildlife Service for his 2 tortoises. Not 1, 2. You can't just go into Canada with 2 tortoises. That's just not something you do. You got to get all your papers in line, and then you enter yourself into Canada. So as we speak this morning, our guy Braden is not at home with his wife. He is at the Canadian border trying to muscle up some fish and wildlife papers.
Those things can grow to be 150 years old.
Well, you got 1. You're like, what am I going to do with 1 tortoise? Moving on to the only undefeated team in the NFL, the Steelers, sitting pretty at 9-0. Ben Roethlisberger was asked about the importance of going undefeated the rest of the way. He said the right thing. He said this: the goal is not to go undefeated. The goal is to win a Super Bowl. Brandon, any chance at all you think it would be a good thing for the Steelers to lose at least once, 1 game, 1 time before the playoffs? And if so, why?
Jenna, we're getting to the part of the season where I feel like anytime we talk about the Steelers, you need to say Brandon Marshall Steelers, because I'm the one that sat here before the season and picked them to win the Super Bowl. And everybody laughed at me. Nick laughed at me. Wiles laughed at me. Talked about Ben Roethlisberger's noodle arm. So I feel like we need to change the narrative just a little bit. Just add Brandon Marshall Steelers to this. Look, I'm not picking Big Ben. Big Ben, this is great leadership by Big Ben. He knows that a loss could be coming. And at the end of the day, what we've seen over time, in time, is that when a team lose, after riding away for so long, it could be a big letdown. When you look in that locker room and you see all these young guys, they've never been in this situation before at this level. So Big Ben is getting ahead of it. Now, you know, the Jags have their number. That's what they've been preaching all week. Will this be the week? I don't think so. But it could be coming when you look at their schedule. And Big Ben just doesn't want those young guys to hit a low, an all-time low, because they've been riding so high, Nick.
So I understand that, and it's easy to look past the Jags. The Jags won their first game of the year and have been as bad as the Jets since then. By the way, that first game of the year, they beat old noodle-arm Phillip Rivers. Now they get to go up against old noodle-arm Ben Roethlisberger. It's nice for them. Maybe a little, you know what I mean, dichotomy between the two. But Wilds, this is about the question that essentially you generated this, because you've convinced yourself if only the Patriots had lost in 07, they would have won the Super Bowl. I don't think there is evidence for that. So two teams in NFL history have gone undefeated: the 72 Dolphins, who won the Super Bowl, and the 07 Pats, who lost the Super Bowl. So it's like, oh, maybe it's better to go 15-1. Well, 9 teams in the Super Bowl era have finished the regular season with 1 loss. 3 of them, only 3, have won the Super Bowl. In fact, 4 times it's happened since the '85 Bears. 3 of those 4 didn't even make the Super Bowl, and 1 of them made it, the Panthers, Cam's Panthers, and they lost it. So this idea that 15-1 somehow positions you better for a championship than 16-0, I dismiss that idea. I don't think there's any evidence for it. What the Steelers need to be worried about, Wilds, is getting that 1 seed, and 16-0 is the only way it's guaranteed for them. So I don't think a loss in any way, shape, or form would be good for them.
Yeah, it's any port in the storm for that Patriots season for me. I'm just looking for a reason, not just that, you know, the helmet catch. It just still bothers me. All right, so the question for you is this, Nick, since it will probably be about your Chiefs. What if the bye is locked up? What if the Chiefs lose another game? The bye is locked up. The Steelers have the Browns, so that's a whole nother thing. Maybe the Browns are fighting for the playoff spot. Then, do you rest? Does Tomlin sit back and say, you know what? It's smarter for us to rest. We have nothing to play for.
No, so I don't like teams personally, and Brandon, I know you hadn't been in this position as a player where, you know, you locked up the 1 seed, but you can still give us the player's perspective on it. I don't like teams resting in week 17 if they have the bye on the horizon, because I think that's too much time off. I think in what the ideal situation for the Steelers honestly would be this: that going into week 16, the Chiefs have a couple more losses. They've locked up the 1 seed, and you can rest guys in week 16 and then play them in week 17 before your bye. But that's very rare to have it locked up that much in advance. But Brandon, for a team that's rolling, I wouldn't think you would want to have consecutive weeks off if you're 14-1 or 15-0 and potentially break all that momentum going into the biggest spot of the season for you, Brandon.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm the head coach, I'll probably approach it like it's preseason, the first preseason game or the second preseason game. A lot of people out there may not know, but that first preseason game, well, yeah, of course you guys know this. You guys are avid football fans. But that first preseason game, you're seeing your starters maybe take a drive or 2. That second one, you want to see those starters play a half. So that's how I would approach it. Yeah, Nick, I'm with you. Taking off 2 weeks is way too long, but there are some savvy veterans that would want that, and they will be in that room asking the coach, hey, let us take off. I need this time. I need to rest. I need to heal. There's a lot of guys right now at this part of the season that's literally using tape to hold on their arms, their legs, and just trying to get out there to get through practice and get through another week.
Warriors. All right, guys, you know how sometimes we wish teams would be more honest with the media? Well, sometimes less is more.